Hamilton. The room where it happens. Today, right now, millions of Americans are in the streets because they were shut out of every room where it happens. Bruce Springsteen is performing a protest anthem in Minnesota. Joel's on stage, Jane Fonda, Bernie Sanders, and Trump is at a Saudi investment summit in Miami renaming the Strait of Hormuz after himself. The contrast that could not be written more perfectly by a Hollywood screenwriter. I want you to hold the two images in your mind at exactly the same time. Image 1, Minneapolis, Minnesota. Right now, the Minnesota state capital. Millions of people in the streets, 3,300 rallies in every state including Alaska and Hawaii, events in Australia, Costa Rica, France, Japan. Bruce Springsteen performing a protest anthem he wrote for 2 Americans killed by ICE agents. Jane Fonda, Bernie Sanders. The largest day of political protest in American history is happening right now. Image 2, Miami Beach, Florida, yesterday. The Forum, a Saudi Arabia-backed investment summit. Donald Trump at a podium surrounded by billionaires discussing the war in the Middle East. And he said into a live microphone in front of a room full of global investors, they have to open up the Strait of Trump. Hormuz. Excuse me. I'm so sorry. Such a terrible mistake. The fake news will say he accidentally said that. No, there's no accidents with me. Not too many. The Strait of Trump. While 1,750 people are dead in Iran, 217 of them children, about 13 American soldiers are in flag-draped coffins, while the world's oil supply is trapped in a waterway he just named after himself. Welcome to the show. I am Davy Jones Carpenter, and today we have a lot to cover. Citizen Kane, Xanadu, Charles Foster Kane, built the palace and named everything in it after his own legacy. The difference between Kane and Trump, Kane paid for Xanadu himself. Trump names things he does not own and has other people pay for them. Let me give you the complete record, because the Strait of Hormuz is not even close to the first thing Trump has tried to put his name on. Trump Tower, New York, 1983. Fine, he built it. He can name it. We'll give him that one. Trump International Hotel, Washington, D.C., 2016. The Old Post Office Pavilion, a historic federal building leased from the government, put his name on it while running for president. Converted back to Waldorf Astoria in 2022 after he lost the lease. The Gulf of Mexico, Gulf of America, January 2025. Executive Order, Day 1 of the second term, the Gulf of Mexico, named in 1563, officially renamed the Gulf of America in U.S. government's documents. Mexico immediately said, we will continue calling it the Gulf of Mexico. The rest of the world agreed with Mexico. Trump Kennedy Center, February 2025. America's premier performing arts institution, named after an assassinated president. Trump added his name to the front. Artists boycotted, audiences left. Richard Grenell ran it into the ground. It's now closing for 2 years. The Strait of Hormuz, Strait of Trump, March 2026. An international waterway running between Iran and the Arabian Peninsula, through which 1/5 of the world's oil normally flows. Currently closed because of a war Trump started. He would like it named after himself as a condition of the peace deal. Fun fact, the Strait of Hormuz is 33 miles wide at its narrowest point. It has been called the Strait of Hormuz since the 16th century, named after the ancient kingdom of Hormuz, which controlled the Persian Gulf trade routes. It has now been renamed in a joke that was definitely not a joke after a man from Queens. Cuba's next. Please pretend I didn't say that. Pop the culture. Dr. Strangelove, General Buck Turgidson says, Mr. President, I'm not saying we wouldn't get our hair mussed, but I do say no more than 10 to 20 million killed. Tops. Trump saying Cuba is next. Pretend I didn't say that is the most Dr. Strangelove moment of this entire presidency. Stanley Kubrick could not have written it better. At the same time, F2 summit in Miami, the same speech Trump said something that should have broken every news alert on every phone in America. He said, and Cuba is next, by the way. But pretend I didn't say that. Please, 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 media, disregard that statement. Thank you very much. Cuba's next. We are on day 28 of a war with Iran that has killed 1,750 people. The exit strategy is bones. The Strait of Hormuz is closed. 13 American soldiers are dead. The counterterrorism director quit. The allies walked away. CPAC speakers are calling the war a mistake. From the CPAC stage, a ground invasion of Iran will make her country poor and less safe. And in the middle of all that, at a Saudi investment summit, the president announced the next war and then said, pretend I didn't say that. Cuba is 90 miles from Florida. Cuba has been under U.S. embargo since 1962. Cuba has a population of 11 million people. Cuba has never attacked the United States. And the president, while managing an active war in the Middle East, casually floating adding it to the list, then asked the media to disregard the statement, then repeated it. Fun fact, in 1962, the Cuban Missile Crisis, John F. Kennedy spent 13 days in quiet, classified, agonizing deliberation before making any public statement about Cuba. Trump announced the next Cuba operation as a punchline at a Saudi investment summit between the Strait of Trump joke and the Abraham Accords announcement. The office, Michael Scott's, I declare bankruptcy. Michael did not understand that declaring something does not make it true. Trump declared Iran had nothing left to target on March the 3rd. He now has a numbered list of 3,554 more things to target. This is Michael Scott energy with nuclear consequences. And while Trump was naming waterways and announcing new wars at a Saudi summit, he also provided an update on the current war that deserves its own section. On March 3rd, day 5, Trump said, just about everything's been knocked out. Iran has no navy, no air force, no radar. On March the 12th, day 12, Trump said, Washington won in Iran. The conflict is over. On March the 28th, day 28th, Trump said at the F2 summit that there are another 3,554 targets left to hit in Iran. That'll be done pretty quickly, and confirmed the war is not finished yet. 3,354 targets. He has a number, a specific number. The excursion, the short-term excursion, has a spreadsheet with 3,554 rows. Meanwhile, the actual death toll, 1,750 killed in Iran, 217 of them children, 1,116 killed in Lebanon, 121 of them children, 96 killed in Iraq, 13 American soldiers dead. Israel killed 3 journalists today in a targeted strike on a press-marked vehicle in Lebanon. Yemen's Houthis confirmed their first attack on Israel since the war began. 3,554 targets on spreadsheet, 3,196 people dead in the real world, 338 of them children. Les Miserables. Do you hear the people sing? Written in 1862 about the French Revolution, performed in 45 countries. It is playing in people's heads in Minneapolis right now as Bruce Springsteen performs Streets of Minneapolis for a crowd that stretches as far as the eye can see. The barricades are metaphorical. The anger is not. While Trump was at the Faena Forum in Miami Beach and naming streets after himself, America was in the streets. 3,300 events. Every state, every territory. Events in Australia, Costa Rica, Western Europe, Japan, France cities joining in solidarity. Organizers calling it potentially the largest day of domestic political protests in the history of the United States. The flagship rally, Minneapolis, Minnesota, the Minnesota state capital, the city where 2 American citizens, Renee Good and Alex Pretty, were killed by federal immigration agents in January. Their deaths started this movement. Today is in their name. Bruce Springsteen performing Streets of Minneapolis, a protest anthem he wrote in January and dedicated to Renee Good and Alex Pretty. The lyrics, King's Trump private army from the DHS, guns belted to their coats, came to Minneapolis to enforce the law, or so their story goes. Joan Baez, the folk legend who sang at the 1963 March in Washington, who performed at Woodstock, who has been on the right side of history at every major American protest movement for 60 years. She's on stage right now. Jane Fonda, Bernie Sanders, Tim Walz, Ilhan Omar, Governor Maura Healey in Boston with the Dropkick Murphys, Robert De Niro, and Al Sharpton in New York. 7 separate rallies near Mar-a-Lago and Palm Beach County while Trump was in Miami. The White House response to all of it, we do not think about the protest at all, which is exactly what you say when you cannot stop thinking about it. Rocky IV, 2 training montage. Rocky in the snow in Siberia, pulling sleds, climbing mountains. Drago in a gleaming facility with machines and scientists. Today, Springsteen at the Minnesota state capitol in a cold March air with millions of Americans. Trump at the Faena Forum in Miami Beach with Saudi investors and gold and lightning. America decided which training montage believed in. I want to spend a moment on the specific contrast of today's two stages. Stage 1, the Faena Forum, Miami Beach, one of the most expansive hotels in America, a Saudi Arabia-backed investment summit. The audience, billionaires, sovereign wealth fund managers, and global finance executives. The performer, the President of the United States. The set list, the Strait of Trump, Cuba's next, 3,554 targets, Abraham Accords. I would like my legacy to be as great as a peacemaker. Stage 2, the Minnesota state capital, St. Paul, outside in the cold. The audience, millions of ordinary Americans who drove, took the bus, walked, and flew to be in the streets on a Saturday in March. The performer, Bruce Springsteen. The set list, Streets of Minneapolis, dedicated to 2 Americans killed by their own government. Trump said at the F2 summit, "I know it doesn't sound right for me to say this, but I love my legacy to be as a great peacemaker because I really believe I'm a peacemaker. It doesn't seem it right now, but I think I'm a peacemaker. It doesn't seem it right now. Day 28, 3,196 dead, 338 children. The Strait of Hormuz closed. Cuba's next. 3,554 targets on spreadsheet. It doesn't seem it right now is the understatement of the century. Even MAGA's cracking. The CPAC rebellion, Game of Thrones, when the Stark banner band began to peel away from a losing cause. Mad standing at CPAC and calling the Iran war a mistake that will make America poor and last safe. It's Jon Snow walking away from the wall. The base is now monolithic anymore. The cracks are visible, and cracks in stone walls are how walls come down. And now, let me give you the story that the White House does not want you to focus on today. Trump skipped CPAC this year for the first time in a decade. CPAC, the Conservative Political Action Conference, is his home crowd, his people, his base. He did not go. And from the CPAC stage, the stage he was not on, Matt Gaetz, one of Trump's most loyal defenders for 8 years, on the CPAC stage, calling the war a mistake. A 30-year-old Army and Marine Corps veteran who has voted for Trump since 2016 told the reporters at CPAC, "I feel betrayed because he promised no new wars. I feel betrayed." From a man who deployed twice for his country, who voted for Trump 3 times, who believed the promise, no new wars. Chuck Schumer posted this morning, record turnout is expected today for Doe Kings. Thousands of nationwide protests, the millions of marchers, dwarfing Donald Trump's biggest crowds, a very strong sign of what's coming in November. The naming problem when branding becomes delusion. The Emperor's New Clothes, Hans Christian Andersen, 1837. 2 swindlers convince an emperor that they have made him the finest suits of clothes. Only a child is honest enough to say the emperor has no clothes. Trump calling the Strait of Hormuz the Strait of Trump while it is closed and people are dying is the emperor's new clothes in geopolitical forum. The crowd of the Faena Forum laughed. The crowd in Minneapolis did not. Let me tell you why the Strait of Trump moment is more than just a funny quote. Trump has renamed the Gulf of Mexico. He has renamed the Kennedy Center. He has put his name on hotels in Washington. He has joked about renaming the Strait of Hormuz, and he has a pattern documented across his entire career of believing that naming something is the same as owning it. Trump Tower works because he built the Trump Tower, but the Gulf of Mexico does not become the Gulf of America because an executive order says so. The rest of the world still calls it the Gulf of Mexico. The Kennedy Center does not become the Trump Kennedy Center in the minds of the artists who boycotted it, and the Strait of Hormuz will not become the Strait of Trump in the shipping lanes in the global economy. Because here is the thing about names. You can name a building after yourself if you paid for it. You cannot name a geopolitical waterway after yourself if you started the war that closed it. That is not a legacy. That is a crime scene with your signature on the tape. Bruce Springsteen wrote Streets of Minneapolis in January of this year. He performed today at the Minnesota state capitol for the largest protester crowd in American history. The lyrics say, "A city aflame fought fire in ice beneath an occupier's boots. King Trump's private army from the DHS, guns belted to their coats, came to Minneapolis to enforce the law," or so their story goes. Meanwhile, at the Faena Forum, the man referenced in those lyrics was telling Saudi investors that the war is nearly won, that Cuba is next, pretend he didn't say that, and that he would really love his legacy to be as a great peacemaker. 3,300 rallies, potentially the largest protest in American history. The boss on the stage in Minnesota, John Bass, who was there in 1963, back on the stage in 2026. Millions of people in the cold saying two words that the founding fathers built this entire country around: no kings. Subscribe. Every single day we come here and document this moment in history, the naming, the wars, the protests, the bones, all of it, so that when someone asks what happened in 2026, we have the receipts. I am David Jones, Captain Terror. I'll see you tomorrow.